You are now listening to the highlight reel builder for authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. And today on the super special awesome podcast highlighting super special awesome humans known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, the Going North podcast. Thanks to my buddy, Mr. Eminem. No, not the rapper. No, not the candy. My man, Mr. Mickey Mickelson, for helping me out with getting this super special awesome human today, who's also a fellow Virgo that I just learned, which is freaking awesome. We're only 4 days apart in terms of birth date, so this is going to be one hell of a great interview. Not only is she a fellow Virgo, she's a fellow best-selling author, but not only that, she's also a wonderful mother, and she's always had a passion for writing and spending her life obsessed with literature. And her creativity has grown ever since she has finally strapped on and hanged up her shingle as an author. So let's give it up for the one, the only AJW herself, Miss Anna J. Walner. How you doing today, Anna?
Hey, y'all, I'm doing good, but I feel quite undeserving of such an amazing introduction. I mean, for real, it's a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great having you on. I'm like, yay, all right. I got another name in my darn inbox. All right, what happened this time? I'm like, oh, what a Mickey's crew. This is going to be good. Checked out the bio. I was like, oh, this chick is not no slouch. All righty then.
Oh,
she
thanks
is
for the
not.
compliment.
Yes, indeed. That's right. She's been making waves and creating all these stories, got this trilogy swag. And heck, even by the time this releases, you'll probably have, what is it, book number 2 out of the trilogy out this November?
It will be in November. Yeah. And it's part of a 4-book series, actually. So, yeah, it's amazing how that can kind of change and progress as you're writing the story. You realize that there's actually more to it than what you originally thought. So I needed a 4th book to completely round out and circle back to give readers a good closure, I think.
Some good closure indeed. And you're so right about it, the more to it part of that, because there's more to you that I probably forgot. So am I filling in any dental cavities I missed about the amazing Anna herself?
Wow. I started writing at a really young age. Whenever other kids were getting bedtime stories, I was getting John Keats, William Wordsworth. I was getting classic British literature read to me by my dad. And from there, I just started developing a passion for reading and then a passion for writing. It was just a natural, evolution to finding my own author's voice. I was adopted from Houston Hospital when I was just a baby. I'm a native Texan, born and raised, and I live in Houston.
Yeehaw indeed. Yeehaw indeed. That's right. That's right indeed. One of the few folks that actually mentions that they were adopted, and I can really appreciate that because you actually really comes to the wonderful phrase that art imitates life, because actually what led to this wonderful book about, I believe, the main character at least takes part of your true life story and it gets into this wonderful world that you created and still are creating in the process. So what helped you to get the confidence to do that?
It did. So I wrote another series prior to this, a middle grade fantasy, with the thought of it, all of my books start with a kernel of inspiration, a question. And the first series was written for my daughter, and it was the question of, do all dogs go to heaven, or what happens after animals die? And so I took that and I ran with it. That is a middle grade duology. And then I drew on life experience, specifically growing up, always wondering the hows behind and the why especially behind my adoption, why I was given up for adoption. Was it because, I was, royalty and would one day be called back to assume, the throne or something crazy like that? Because, as a kid, you wonder. My parents never ever hid the fact that I was adopted from me. I was told at a very young age. And so as I started thinking about my next project, I immediately thought of, well, let's just take my adoption and take it in a wildly different direction. And the only thing that I knew was that my biological father was from Australia. So I said, well, what if I'm a part of a secret society that exists in the outback of Australia? And it's vampires and lycanthrope. And I'm being called home once I find my biological family. They'll, call me home to assume my rightful place as the leader of this society. And that's really how the first book came to be.
So Texas, Australia. All righty. So a mix of Texas and Australia. That's right. H Town from down under. That's right. That's what I'm talking.
Yeah, crazy mix. So Texan and Australian.
So what inspired Australia of all places? Because you're reading British literature growing up. So was it something else that inspired Australia of all places?
No, it was the simple fact that I'd grown up knowing that the only piece of information I knew was that my biological mother, I had, I did have siblings out there, and that my biological father was Australian. So always as a kid, I would pick up, if I saw a book about Australia or Aboriginal culture or anything that had to do with Australia, I would devour it. The same thing with documentaries about Australia and Australian, wildlife culture, anything that piqued my interest. I was just always very fascinated with my heritage and my backstory that, I couldn't help but set the story there.
It makes perfect sense indeed. Definitely makes perfect sense indeed. So I'm guessing, do you believe that you may heck even get closer to maybe finding your true biological parents one day through these novels since it sits in Australia?
The I did take the DNA test just like Amelia did, and I did reconnect with part of my maternal biological family who does live in the US. But Ed Saunders, my biological father, still remains a mystery. Quite unsure as to where he is, or if he's still in the States, or if he has gone back to Australia, or what the case may be. Oh, yeah, maybe.
Okay. Cool. Close the cucumber. That's what I'm talking about indeed. Yes, indeed. So sounds freaking interesting. So with being adopted and then the book turning to a different turn, it's like, oh yeah, all these spells and then getting called back home. Like my goodness, I'm guessing you grew up at Halloween time dressing up as a witch, maybe?
Oh, wow. Vampire, cheerleader, the 60s, 70s, whatever my mom had in her closet at the time. Uh, I mean, we improvised. So it's, no, not necessarily, but I always have had a fascination with the supernatural because I think that it's just that fascination with the unexplained and how we cannot ignore the fact that certain things in history have in fact happened and certain things continue to happen, and so we cannot explain them, these experiences that people have. So I've always been fascinated with the supernatural elements of this world, and so it was really a great chance for me to delve into that side of things in the paranormal romance department with vampires, lycanthropes, and then you will see in the second book that we also include witches as well. So we also have the circle that comes into play.
The circle indeed. That's right. That's right, folks. So that means there will be some neck biting involved, and there may be wake up in another world as a wonderful witch where you're casting spells and you realize, oh shoot, I'm a vampire witch. So it means I have to stay underground in the dark and maybe in the casket. You know what? Forget caskets. They're overrated. They're too cliche. You know what? Let's go with a playpen full of balls like Discovery Zone. Yeah, yeah, there we go.
Now,
Yeah.
see, I should have had you, helping me, in the beginning. I mean, because that is unique right there. But I will say, I will say that the series is unlike what readers are used to. So we don't go back to high school. There are very few humans that even exist throughout the entire series. So it is focused primarily on the three different societies that have come together out of necessity for the sake of survival to form a tentative truce against a greater evil. That's all that I can say. So there's no teenage angst. You don't have to go back to high school. And there are no vampires that are falling in love with human women or anything like that. So I really did take everything that I disliked from paranormal romance and I tossed it out the window or changed it completely, twisted it, and just made my own take on things. I really wrote the book that I've been missing, that I've been wanting to read. And then blending that with a bit of science and genetics as well helps to create a more believable experience and more immersive experience for the reader.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. So you heard that right, folks. This is what the game has been missing, and she's giving it to you, y'all. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You don't have to go back to high school with the weed, y'all, and the random vampires fall in love with humans. This ain't Twilight. This ain't 2005, y'all. We passed that.
No,
Right.
no, it's definitely. I have had it compared to a Twilight like experience, but something that I would actually want to read. Or Vampire Diaries in the outback of Australia. So you can't help but draw some parallels, between well-known examples of paranormal romance. But I did try and stray as far from those overused tropes as possible.
Ah, there you go. So with writing these wonderful books, what was probably the hardest thing in terms of getting to the publishing stage? Because that's probably like the second hardest part of writing is the
Yeah.
before part.
It really was doing justice to, so it's a very character driven, it's a very character centric story. So I really wanted to focus a lot of attention on building realistic characters and giving them an arc that readers could be invested in, a backstory, let them have their own individual personalities that people would become invested in. And then, so the first book was all about introducing this faction, this secret society, and secret societies, and then the characters as well. And then from there, we move into more world building and the political aspects of combining two separate societies, which have only previously existed tentatively with each other as one cohesive unit. So there are a lot of challenges that lie ahead for Amelia, our main character.
Oh, wow. That's what I'm talking about. So a political aspect too. All right, cool. So will there be vaccines mentioned in this book?
No vaccines, but a lot of acceptance. So accepting other cultures, other heritages, other acceptance is a huge part of this book. Not only Amelia accepting the fact that she is who she is and where she came from, which is quite the surprise, but also the acceptance of different of the Larugo society and the Garcane society accepting each other in one civilization. So there's a lot of diversity mentioned. There's a lot of blending of different, lifestyles and the different ways that, perhaps one is perceived as opposed to the other, and how those conflicts are dealt with.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So acceptance, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. Acceptance indeed. Sweet. That's what I'm talking about. So with your story mixed in with ultra level of embellishment, of course, do you think this might be inspiration to the other kids or even the grown-ups that were adopted as a little wee tot?
Mainly the inspiration that I'm aiming for is young girls or, teenage girls who see Amelia as a strong female lead, who's not willing to sacrifice who she is or what she believes in for anything. So she's very headstrong. She's very strong-willed and independent, perhaps a little bit based on myself in that aspect. And so I really wanted to give people, women and girls, a strong female lead to aspire to be like. Because a lot of times you do see in paranormal romance that, I won't mention names, but that the female lead is somewhat of a not necessarily strong-willed. So Amelia is a badass. I mean, there's really no other way to put it.
All right. So she's got a shotgun hidden somewhere all at all times. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. D. Yes, indeed. But hey, it's all good to have some strong female leads. We're definitely needing that in different genres because hey, it's not all about the old-timey guys that have been roaming the wonderful world for hundreds of years with writing books and ladies having to use pen names just to pass off as guys. Like, hey, it's a new era. It's a new era. Need some great, courageous girls out there.
Absolutely. And to celebrate that and the different, like I said, the different cultures that are expressed in the book. And the Uluru legacy. Uluru is actually the Aboriginal term for what we know as Ayers Rock, which is what we know in the United States as Ayers Rock. And Garcane is also an Aboriginal term, which describes a giant bat-like creature that hides in trees and encloses its victims in feathered wings and devours them. So that was kind of where I tried to draw some inspiration from Aboriginal heritage and culture without overstepping. So to use proper attribution and terms for Ayers Rock was one of those ways to do that.
That's how you rock the house right there. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's how you Ayers rock the house. That's right. Yes,
I
indeed.
like that.
That's right. Corn cob ahoy. Corn cob ahoy. So that's right. So it sounds like a lot of wonderful research was put into this book as well. So that shows a lot of care. So not only creativity, but also some research from all the times you've been studying and looking up stuff about Australia and devouring information about Australia. Indeed. So my
And
goodness. Oh, go ahead.
no, and the historical elements of Australia as well are well researched and in there as well as Celtic and Gaelic influence whenever it comes to the circle in the second book. So a lot of research was done there as well.
Ah, yeah, that's right. Circles for days, maybe. Well, maybe not for days. Maybe for chapters.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm guessing book number 2 is also gonna be in audio like the first one, right?
That I've not yet decided. And the reason is I did the audio for the first book, and the second book is quite a bit longer. And so I don't know. I was doing it at night when my daughter was asleep and everything had to be off and quiet and, in a soundproof room. And it just, I don't know if I have the stamina to do that right now. So we'll see. It is something that I'm looking at having done, but it will not be done by me. Not this time.
I got you. Definitely can be rough. Definitely can be rough indeed. My goodness, yeah, especially with that quiet aspect. It's like, yeah, you're in the zone, different character voice change, and hear a knock on the door. It's the little one. It's like, hey, mommy,
Right.
I heard a
Yeah.
strange noise.
No,
And then,
absolutely. Yeah. And the same for the rest of the series. Most likely there will be audiobooks, but I've not yet decided how to go about that process.
that's what I'm talking about indeed. Oh, hey, wise decision. Outsource it. Let professionals handle it. If they got you covered and all that good stuff. So that way more folks can get it. That way the courageous blonde girls can get some of the good audio action too from the book series.
No, absolutely. Everybody, yeah. It's the audio that's now out is available across, multiple platforms, not just on Audible, but other Apple iTunes even. So
So Apple of Eden
regarding.
too. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Let me stop. There ain't no Apple of Eden. Ain't no Apple of Eden. Oh man. So this is far from your first rodeo. Is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
Oh wow. I don't really. I think it pretty well covers everything. I've been asked what advice I would give other authors, and I would just say, to stay true to your own voice as an author, and to keep going because what seems like a daunting task is not viewed that way after you finish your first book. It's not as scary as you think once you first publish. But yeah, I get. I guess if I were to ask any question, what are my hopes for the series?
Multimillionaire, retire young.
Uh, no, that would be nice, but to really have it impact people, to have people really enjoy the series, to have it highly recommended, that is to receive a compliment or an email or something, saying, giving me an idea of just how much someone enjoyed the book and how it impacted their life in some way, shape, form, or fashion. That would be it for me. That would be there.
All right, folks, you heard that right. So send Anna a TR in the mail. I'm telling you, send her two of them. That's right. Make sure one of them's like purple, like dark purple. Yeah, that's right. Let me stop. But hey, that's good. That's a worthy goal indeed, because that's one of the greatest compliments ever. Is for definitely one of them is for writers to have their books read, and it's like, oh, you liked it, hooray! Oh crap, you didn't really like it. All right, how could I improve for next time? And it's actual advice, not the
Yes.
coming from a place of hate. And it's like, oh god, two
Right.
stars. No, I didn't even
Right.
read it, but I bought it for 99 cents just to spite. Yeah, like not one of those. Not a
No,
fan of
no.
those.
No, and I everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I think that's great whenever you have a book that's somewhat polarizing. I think it's very telling when you see a book on Amazon or on any website that has all 5 stars and no other ratings because to me, it just says that there aren't a lot of strong opinions. And I would love for people to have strong opinions. I didn't like the main character. I didn't like the love interest. I didn't like this about this, and to frame that in a constructive critique is really something that I look at. as an author and say to myself, well, how can I improve on that moving forward as an author? And so, guys, if you have any constructive feedback, that's always great.
Woohoo! Amen to that. That's right. That's right indeed. That's right. Because the books with all 5 stars are like, all right, this looks like a glass house. Where's a rock? Let me throw one at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to get those 5-star reviews, but at the same time, you just have to, as an author, you have to expect that someone's not going to like the book, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone has different tastes in men, in women, in music, and food, in everything, in cars. I mean, the list goes on. It's endless. So not every person is going to absolutely love the book. Not every reader is going to absolutely love the book. So understanding that is something that, authors really have to be okay with and have a bit of a thick skin whenever it comes to that. As long as it's not an absolutely spiteful review. There are a lot of times ways that you can take those reviews and turn them into positives. And I firmly believe that you never stop improving your craft as an author, that it's always something that continues to grow and evolve as you write more and more. And you'll see that throughout the series as well. The books get longer and there's, more detail in certain areas. And so,
Yes, indeed. That's right. For some reason, when you said food, this crazy question popped into my head. So, if you were to, if your book series would be a dessert, what kind of dessert would it be?
if my book series was a dessert, oh, wow. That's an interesting question. Dessert? Does it have to be dessert?
If you want to go outside and make it just a regular food item, that's cool too.
I would say it would be a supreme pizza or something that has just a little bit of everything, because I truly do believe that in the series you will find a little bit of everything.
So there will be pineapples on this metaphorical pizza, you're saying?
No fruit tarts. I'm firmly against fruit tarts. Pineapple has no place on pizza. Fight me on it.
Oh, oh God. Yeah. I like how there's like an internet meme fight. It's like, oh, it's like
I did
pineapple
actually
does
see
not.
that on the internet. I won't lie.
Oh God. That's right. So for those who like pineapple on pizza, don't worry, it's still good. It's still good. And vice
Hey,
versa.
we'll go halvesies. It's okay. It's cool.
There you go. Or maybe just cast a spell that's temporary where it looks like there's pineapple on there. Let me stop.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty cool things where they make cakes and things that look like real, like other kind of food, and then you cut into it, and it's like cake, but it looks like a hamburger. And I'm like, don't do that to me. My brain can't process that. Like, really.
Oh man. I think I'm gonna torch every single guest on the show now after with that question now. This is good. All
I
righty.
think that's great.
Yeah. That's right. That's right indeed. Not left. Then again, of course, Prada Marfa might be at least on my screen, might be towards the right.
Oh, towards the right. Yeah, no, it is pointed the right direction. So 1,837 miles that way, you will find Prada Milan.
Oh man. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2021, with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Hour 25, knowing what I know now.
Yep. So 7 years ago
Oh,
for you, basically.
man. 7 years ago. Yeah, right. I wish. Don't be afraid to go after what it is that you're passionate about, because life will sneak up on you. So I wish that I would have started this journey a long time ago. But then at the same time, I think that, everything has a right timing. So this idea fully fleshed out at this time for a reason. And so, but I probably would have started writing earlier and taken it seriously instead of being just, for fun.
For funsies. That's right.
But yeah, live for something that work with something that you're passionate about. And maybe you should have gone for that master's degree. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely a huge maybe, depending on the situation.
A lot of school. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, master's hooray. Oh, wow. Depending on the type of employment what you're looking to do, it's like, oh, I could have got this without it and less debt. All right, cool. All righty. Oh man, but hey, it's all good. It's
No,
all good in the neighborhood.
I wouldn't change anything because I have an amazing support system. I have an amazing little girl, and I am doing something that I love and that I'm passionate about. And I couldn't think of a better life right now for myself.
Woohoo! Well, amen to that. Better and not better, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Indeed. That's right. Hashtag gratitude right there for a life you enjoy, y'all. That's right.
Absolutely. Every day.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Hashtag amazing Annie, y'all. That's right. That double A like a battery, y'all. Yes, indeed. Except in this case, it'll be double A for writing. That's right, indeed. All the puns on a bun intended. So for those who want to keep in magical contact with you, keep up with all that you're doing. What's the best way for us to reach out to you?
No, that was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A pun hit combo. 3 of them.
I mean, that was like rapid fire. You've got skills.
That's right. The dad joke samurai. So many puns coming at you. The groans just keep happening rapid speed. Yep. That's right. Gonna blame you for that one. That's right. Gonna take no responsibility. Gonna blame you for that one. That's right. You empowered me to use more corn cobs today.
Hey, I've had a blast, an absolute blast. This has been awesome.
Oh man, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. So for those who want to keep in contact with the amazing and especially when these books launch one after the other, what's the best way for folks to do so?
You can visit my website at annajwalner.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. So any social media outlets, then you can find me there. I always try and follow back or interact if you ask me a question or have a comment. So, and then all of my books are distributed wide, so you can find them any place that books are sold, including ebooks across all platforms.
That's right, that wide distribution, y'all. So there you have it. Slide into her DMs and say, hey, your book is freaking awesome. I bought 55 and gave 54 of them away, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. Tell the whole world, y'all. Be like, yeah, buy a bunch of copies. Share with your friends. Share with your family. Share with your cat. Share with the dog. Share with the goldfish, y'all. That's right. Heck, even throw 30 copies in the biggest Prada bag that you can find and give it to somebody. And then make sure you take the Prada bag back and they keep the books and make a run for it. Yo, I'm telling you, just do it. It's good stuff indeed. And all, thank you for it.
Thank you so much for having me on today. It has been a blast. Honestly, highlighted my afternoon.
Sweet. All righty. It's like I'm a peach off a tree, and this ain't even Georgia. Oh man. So any parting words before we close up shop, Anna?
No, just guys, for the second book, just know that it does release on November 2nd, 2021. The third book will be releasing sometime in 2022. So definitely keep an eye out on social media for that information, as I will keep you updated as I know.
How's it going, you super special, awesome human? Since you made it to the end of this episode, it looks like you really enjoyed yourself. Since you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with at least 3 people in your network and tell them what you really liked about this episode. Heck, even shoot myself or the guest an email and let them know what you liked most about this interview so that way they can stay inspired to keep pushing out great work.